let's get it. I'm going into my Punished arc if Trump wins. I've been on my Punished arc for like 2 years, and I am doubling down on that arc right now. Holy shit. Okay, I guess I should just get started now, while it's fresh in everybody's mind. You know, there's some people I recognize. The presidential debate happened yesterday evening, right? I watched it live as part of a watch party. CNN was being a little bit stingy with the rebroadcasting, as they are known to do. So what do I think about it? Guys, I'm not even gonna lie. It was pain. It was agony, even. I cannot fucking believe that was only 2 hours. It felt like so much longer. Dude, Biden is so fucking old. He can't do shit. He can barely stand up. That man looks like a stiff breeze could push him over. And even when he was like trying to make a point, he was slurring, he was stuttering, he was non sequituring, he was introducing all sorts of like wacky shit. And like, I think at this point the coherence doesn't even if the debate was a transcript, I think Biden actually won, but Americans can't comprehend reading. That's fucking copium, and you know it, dude. There is nothing that could have saved Biden there from the fucking disaster that ensued after that. The transcript doesn't make any goddamn sense. Look, Trump was incoherent. He lied. He dodged every question and talked about immigration a lot, and he alluded to insurrectionary intent. But he can fucking talk. All right, like he can get up there and talk and project confidence and charisma. Biden doesn't have jack shit going for him in the debate stage, right? The substance, like even where Biden was talking about substance, the substance didn't matter. It didn't even matter if Biden was saying something good, which half the time he fucking wasn't. He missed every single layup, flubbed every single rhetorical point, and he won the race to the bottom. This debate, more than any debate I've literally ever seen, was a race to the bottom, and Biden won that race handily. And that's not what I want to happen from that. That's not what anybody needs to happen from this. It pains me to say this. Fucking Hillary would have put up a better fight than Biden in the debate against Trump. And I'm losing my concentration because I'm talking about this stuff. Can't really kind of hard to do that while driving, but I'm trying, guys. Look, you put me up on that debate stage, somebody with no formal media training, and I will dog walk Trump every day of the week. Look, anybody defending Biden here, that's fucking copium. But I have a whole thing, like I have a couple of notes on like what I thought was most important to highlight. And shit, there was basically no redeeming factor for Biden in this debate. It was that bad. And I think if you pretend otherwise, like even nothing could make Biden look good in that debate, except for maybe literal cocaine. But you know, we can't time travel, so it's that's what's up. Look, back to the debate, the presidential debate that happened last night. Look, Biden missed all the layups. He won the race to the bottom. Even when Biden was talking about substance, the substance wasn't good either. When they were talking about anything real, like Biden was just ranting about some fucking neoliberal hogwash. He was talking about like, you know, marginal increase for this, slightly increasing the benefits cap. He was talking about like fentanyl and the southern border. Nobody fucking cares. Like, what people need, what resonates with people in debates, is people need a narrative. People need a populist narrative. This is why populists are so fucking successful in politics, is because if you tell people that there are powers that be that fucking hate them, which is true, and you say, look, I'm offering solutions and policies to address that problem. You just got to vote for me. We'll take the fight to the big corporations or whatever. That resonates with people. Not this fucking nerd, like liberal bullshit of, oh, the system works. You know, we just need some tweaks around the edges. That has never resonated with anybody. And of course, it didn't help that he had absolutely zero energy in saying literally anything that he said on that debate stage. You know, he took the bait too. As far as his rhetorical performance, right? Like Trump was out there. He was setting up a number of rhetorical baits for certain talking points. Biden took the bait, hook, line, and sinker for every single question, walked right into every single trap that Trump set. This was this was a god-awful debate performance from Joe Biden, even irrespective of his age. Ugh. But that's enough about Biden specifically, right? Let's not pretend that the hosts and the moderators. Remember that video I showed on the question, are the American presidents getting old? Yeah, I distinctly remember that, and I have more to say about the age of certain candidates later. But right now I want to talk about like the hosts of the debate and the moderators. This was a debate hosted on CNN. Like I said, they're very protective with the rebroadcasting rights and whatever. That's a different issue. But ultimately, they, at the beginning of the debate, or like going into the debate, they marketed it as, this is going to be like a proper presidential debate. We're going to have live fact checking, and we're going to have mic control. That means that, like, if anybody says something incorrect, we're going to correct them as they're saying it. We're going to interject and say, no, that's actually wrong. This is what actually is the case, is what the statistics actually show. And if somebody goes over time or speaks out of turn, they won't be able to, because we'll cut their mic off. And I've never heard a bigger fucking joke in my life. No fact checking, not even remotely. They didn't use that? Yeah, not even once. Or actually, excuse me, they did use it all of one time. I think there was exactly one time where the CNN host cut off somebody's mic, and it was Biden. That towards the end, the debate was so painful that CNN realized that, like, the only way to give Biden any sort of leeway is to fucking cut him off early and get him to speak as little as possible, because the man sounds like he's dying in front of us. They never interjected. They never fucking fact-checked anything that they said. They let Trump go on, like, 82 different unhinged rants. You know, Trump went off topic literally every single time he had the opportunity to. There were so many layups. Not just that the moderators teed up for Biden, but that Trump teed up for him. He flubbed every single one. And the moderators are partly complicit with that. And this, honestly, this debate, because debates matter, believe me, even though debates seem silly sometimes, they matter for influencing public opinion. This debate is going to single-handedly sink the Biden campaign. In fact, in 2 hours, the Biden campaign went from like, to like, oh, it's Jover. It's fully fucking Jover. Trump is going to win the 2024 election if Biden remains the candidate, and it's going to be all the Democratic Party's fault. I know, like, there have been a few people, a few liberal pundits or whatever, who are trying to spin this and be like, oh no, actually, jujitsu move, it's the Republicans' fault that the Democrats are fucking incompetent. No, you guys aren't getting out of this one this time, alright? I think everyone knew Trump would destroy Biden in a debate. Yeah, everyone pretty much did know that. But, like, here's the thing, right? Like, this was libs coping hard after the debate. Yeah, they really are, and it's fucking insufferable, because, like, this wasn't, for once, this wasn't in any way the Republicans' fault. Even a lot of things that, like, the Democrats have done poorly could be partly attributed to Republicans being competent at political subterfuge or whatever. Even when the Democrats still maintained the majority of the blame, Republicans actually had completely zero hand in the Democrats doing this. This was a completely unforced error, and it was the most painful unforced error I've ever seen in my life, because it's been decades in the making. You know, through the primary debates where the Democrats, suppressed opposition in 2020 when they didn't learn from their mistakes about running a milquetoast centrist with no charisma and no sauce in 2016 when they suppressed the primary debate again in 2024. Like, dog, this is entirely the Democrats' fault. They had so many opportunities, literally thousands of opportunities to do this shit right, to get a progressive on the ballot, to get somebody at least with some charisma. For fuck's sake, Gavin Newsom would have been better. And like, to shore up the weaknesses of Biden as a candidate by literally not having Biden as the candidate, you know? And they ignored every single one. In fact, they shot themselves in the foot whenever they had the chance. The Democratic Party was so committed to ousting progressives that they basically made sure that there were no charismatic options available outside of Joe Biden. And even then, they could have picked somebody. Jesus Christ, even Kamala Harris would have been better. And at this rate, they actually might still pick somebody else. This debate was so bad that, like, network TV outlets and Democratic Party strategists and, like, party insiders, higher-ups in the party, not even on the condition of anonymity, were saying, holy shit, Joe Biden needs to drop out of the race. Like, we need to just replace Biden with anybody else that we can find because he got dog-walked. Even most of the resist libs realized, like, oh, this is so bad. Like, Biden didn't look good. You know, it took some real fucking special kind of party ops to pretend that Biden in any way had a respectable showing in that debate. And for Christ's sake, now we're actually entering, like, Dianne Feinstein like levels of elder abuse here. Like, Jesus Christ, if this is the condition that Biden is in, like, how has the Democratic Party let the problem get this bad? And I mean, that's a rhetorical question because we all kind of know how, because the Democratic Party is a party of liberals who don't want to do jack shit. You know, they just want to stay the course and trust the process and whatever. Jesus Christ. Let me get I think there's a certain section I want to get past, then I'll continue on some of the stuff that I wrote down for myself at the very least. This isn't scripted. I'm still going off the cuff. There were just a couple of beats that I wanted to make sure I remembered. Okay, good section, good section. This is why I say the strategy for Democrats is like, lose on purpose. I've said at several points in the past that the Democratic Party loves to lose. Their strategy is one of malicious incompetence. They don't care if they lose because in their minds that, like, nothing is ever, like, no change is ever possible because of, like, oh, we found the liberal world order. Guys, we did. We solved politics. History is over. You know? I can't believe I still made that. Because of shit like this, right? Like, as I was saying earlier, like, as I said earlier, the Democrats had every opportunity and like every chance and every motive even to correct their mistake here, and they didn't do it. But, like, they didn't do it, and they knew. See, when we watched the debate, right? I didn't fully know how bad it was. Even when Joe Biden was senile, I was like, okay, he can still read off a teleprompter from the limited amount of time that we had seen him in press conferences. But, like, holy shit, we got a window into how far Joe Biden's decline has really advanced. And that was just us for 2 hours on one night. The Democratic Party has known this for fucking years. They knew this the whole time, and they still decided, nope, Joe Biden's the dude. You know, he's the candidate. Anything better than the two most famous grandpas on TV for hours? They're not even the two most famous grandpas. Bernie Sanders is a more famous grandpa, and he's got more sauce in him at the ripe old age of fucking, I don't know, how old is he, 80? Not that he should run for president. I think he's fine where he is, actually. But he's becoming more incoherent by the day. They both are. It's just, like, Joe Biden is just reaching the bottom way quicker than Trump is. You know? Like, I had no idea how right I would be when I said this was going to be a race to the bottom. But Joe Biden, this is no longer a race to the bottom. The race to the bottom is done. Joe Biden won. He is way more in a state of mental decline than Trump is. And this isn't the only front on which Democrats have failed, right? They're trying to pitch this, right, as democracy versus fascism, right? And they keep invoking January 6th. They keep invoking January 6th and the insurrection on the Capitol. What did they fucking do after the insurrection on the Capitol? They did fuck all. They had so much leeway and opportunity and justification to mass arrest every Republican in the fucking House of Representatives for fucking treason and insurrection against the United States and trying to subvert the Constitution, and they didn't do it. Because they're liberals. This is the liberal abstemiousness. That, like, fucking... It is the classic obligation and duty of liberals to cede ground to fascists whenever and wherever they have the opportunity to, and then pretend like they're in any way a better option. You know how I was talking about the other time? I was talking about the Macron's party in France, the LREM party, and how, like, the choice that people are being presented with, or that people had been presented with in France is like, you can either have the fascists or you can have the circumstances which created the fascists, and like they will not offer any meaningful change. That's the Democratic Party right now. That's what's up. That's what they're offering us. Vote for genocide to stop fascism? Yeah, legitimately, that's all the Democratic Party is capable of like giving us. Jesus fucking Christ. Meanwhile, like, the Democratic Party views progressives as a bigger threat than fucking fascists. And here's the thing, from their perspective, they're right to do so because they're not a democratic, small d, party. They are a liberal party, which means that they always defer to the interests of private capital, and they will always prioritize those interests over the interests of minorities and over the interests of democratic, democratic norms, institutions, and like, democratic spirit. And, like, when liberals have to choose between social democrats and socialists and fascists, they will choose fascists every single fucking time. If that's anything that we can learn from this, it's that. You know, because while they were doing this, like, this debate came immediately after the election that happened in New York District 16, where Jamal Bowman unfortunately lost to George Latimer. The DCCC sandbagged him. The Democratic Party at an institutional level made the conscious policy choice to sandbag progressives while doing nothing to stop the advance of fascism. Like I said, they could have fucking mass arrested Republican politicians, and they would have been in their rights to do so. They would have been justified in doing so. They should still do it. They still theoretically have time to do that. But they won't, because they're a bunch of pussies. And they would rather lose. And again, like I said, they defer to the interests of private capital, and private capital loves fascists. This honestly is probably worse than the decision to run Hillary Clinton against Trump in 2016. Like, this went worse and quicker than that campaign did. Ignoring the fact that USA is very important for Europe, the world, this is hilarious. Starting to fall in love with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's great. I love Jon Stewart. Him and John Oliver. But yeah, Jon Stewart is definitely, if there's one American commentator on, like, mainstream TV that I would recommend to people, it'd be Jon Stewart. Christ, dude. And you know, by the way, as soon as I walked away from the debate, I was like, fucking hell. The American Arjen Lubach. Yeah, that's that guy that you recommend to me every now and again, right? That's a Dutch talk show guy. I agree. I think that's kind of like that. But as soon as the debate finished, I was like, shit, here's what's going to happen, because I know exactly, I know exactly how this is going to play out. We've seen it in fucking 2 elections before, already. In 2016, when the Democrats lost the election to Donald Trump, when Hillary Clinton lost the election they blamed the left and they blamed minorities for not voting for Hillary. And what do you think is going to happen in 2024 when the same fucking shit happens when they lost, when they lose this election? They even did it in 2020. They actually started blaming the left and minorities when they thought they might be about to lose. In covering their bases, like that's what they did. They're going to gaslight you into believing that somehow it was the left and minorities who are at fault for Joe Biden not being elected, even though it like the Democratic Party treated him in a way that's borderline elder abuse, trying to get this fucking clearly dementia-riddled 80-something-year-old man to hobble up on the debate stage and say something when they know that he's just going to fall apart. Sometimes literally. Like, Jesus. He literally couldn't keep his mouth shut. I think the USA is good for the world. Regardless of whether or not the US is good for the world, we're important. The US has done unspeakable things, but the US is such a big country and such a powerful country that we are important. I think that's an objectively correct thing to say, you know? Like, whether or not you load it up with the propaganda of us being the leader of the free world, or whether you just phrase it as us being a global hegemon, clearly the US is on top of the pile. So what we, like, the politics of the United States matter for basically everywhere else as well. Honest to God, this debate, after watching that debate, I'm prepared to lock the fuck in, right? Because this is gonna... I'm gonna have to get a lot more serious with the shit going on in my life after the shit show the Democratic Party has hoisted upon us. I'm working on a certification for IT. I'm gonna get it information tech certification. I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to grow the stream in some way, not necessarily like directly in terms of viewership. I have to approach it more as a statistical or like social scientific kind of thing. I have some notes to that effect. I'm gonna try to be politically active and you know, given that the U.S. is probably going to be controlled by Republicans in the near future, if Democrats don't pull something incredible out of their ass, I'm going to have to try to not die in the process of doing all that, because, you know, we know what fascists think of socialists and people in the queer community. My dad said that Joe Biden was supposed to be a bridge president for the Democrats and was supposed to buy time for them to find someone else. I don't know what they were thinking. Here's the thing. Your dad was right. That's what the Democrats said. In 2020, when Joe Biden was elected, part of how they tried to placate the younger voters and the left that's within their base is by saying, like, look, guys, don't worry. You voted for Joe Biden once. You won't have to again. He's going to be a one-term president. We're going to get somebody younger and more energetic and more charismatic for the next election. And you know what? People fucking believe them. And you know what? Partially that's on us, because we should know better than the fucking believe the Democratic Party on anything, right? Especially when they're, like, promising that something will change. Like, are you kidding me? This is the status quo party. Yeah, like, ultimately, your dad, like, when people say shit like that, they're right, because that's what the Democratic Party said at the time. But then they, like, in 2000... I forget which year it actually was. It might have been 22 or 23. They kind of like pulled the rug out from everybody and been like, nah, just kidding. We're going to run Joe Biden again. Isn't it great? And then people are like, haha, no, actually, what the fuck are you thinking? And what they were thinking, of course, the Democrats, what they were thinking is the classic liberal abstemiousness mindset. The mindset of being maliciously incompetent because they suffer from the terminal brainworm of assuming that politics is an unchanging matter of, like, I don't know, fucking running an NGO. Democrats treat politics almost like running an NGO. Like, they always treat it like they have less power than they have. And it's sort of like they have this weird end of history, like, obsession. You know, I've mentioned this before, that liberals all to a certain degree think like this, that history is done. We've done all the history that there is, so nothing new is possible. Like, fundamentally, things are always going to stay the same is the logic there. But, like, that's, you know, that in large part plays into the Democrats' thought process on this. They thought, like, don't worry, it's fine. This isn't 1944, so fascism isn't possible again. We have to use it as a political talking point, but, I get the sense a lot of Democrats don't really believe in the threat that fascism poses to everybody, because it's like, for them, it's literally unthinkable. They don't think that any significant events are any more capable of occurring now. I'm getting bumped as fuck. Oh, yay, blue shell. And it's not gonna hit me. And now, actually, I want to return to something a 1v3 mentioned before, about candidates being really, really old. Remember that video I showed about our American presidents getting old? I will refer back to something I said in that video about candidates being old, and specifically pertaining to the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is a big tent party that includes elements of the left. The reason that the Democratic Party and to a certain extent also the Republican Party prefers older candidates is because they're always better for guarding the interests of capital, right? If you have a younger, more charismatic candidate, that candidate could theoretically pose a threat to the party infrastructure and the donors that support it. Obviously, both parties rely super heavily on the capital class for their financing, because we don't have public financing of elections, and also we don't have like a socialist party in this country, except for the Working Families Party. Any socialist groups that we have are like small NGOs that have a political foothold like somewhere. It's either someone who does absolutely nothing or a literal felon. Yeah, because Democrats need to provide the safest, quote-unquote, safest possible option. But it doesn't mean safe for you or for me. It means safe for their donors, safe for the capital class. And that's why you get people like Joe Biden. Joe Biden is fucking ancient. He's been in politics for forever. So they know that he's going to do what the capital class is okay with. And he's not going to violate their interests all that much. That's why you get somebody like him and not somebody like even fucking Julian Castro. I know people in my audience would be like, fucking who? He was a guy that was in the in the primaries last cycle in 2024. He was on the presidential primary stage, and like he was I invoke him mostly because he's kind of an example of the generic Democrat, if that makes sense, right? Like, because he is I don't know how old he's, like 40 something, 50 something. He's certainly not ancient. He might not be the youngest guy in politics, but like somebody like him who has an ounce of charisma in their bones, there's like a certain potential uncertainty that he starts saying something genuinely progressive, that he starts working with people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Jamal Bowman and all those folks to build working class power, to sort of stand up against corporations in a way that like directly threats their inroads to politics. And so ultimately the calculus there is that they would rather put up Joe Biden and lose than put up somebody like like literally anybody else and run the risk of winning. That's what's going on for the Democratic Party. That's part of why they lose so often, is that they're okay with losing. Now, to answer a probably very obvious question, am I still going to vote for Joe Biden? Obviously, yes, I am. We've been saying this, a lot of people on the left have been saying this for a long time, is that you could hoist a literal corpse onto the stage. Joe Biden could be actually dead. You could be Weekend at Bernieing that shit. And that would still be better than Trump. I would still rather have that than Donald Trump. But here's the thing. We were all being hyperbolic in a way because we hoped that it wouldn't actually come to that. We hoped that the Democratic Party would have any fucking sense in their body to not run somebody who's dying in front of our eyes against Donald Trump, a fascist, a felon, and a sex predator or whatever the fuck, We thought that was like the most extreme edge case, and even then we were relatively secure in saying, yes, that would still be better than Trump, right? Democrats are testing us on that front, it seems. And like I said, in large part, it's because the Democrats ultimately don't care that much if they lose. This is part of why I like. This is part of why I argue in favor of supporting the Democratic Party in some ways as well. Like that you at least vote for them, not like be ideologically in favor of everything that they are, right? Because they're liberals, right? But it's because like they don't want to win. You have to understand when you're fighting against fascism, the fascists want to win, but they're incompetent. The liberals don't want to win. You know? Or at the very least, they don't care enough to win. What is it that who was it? Marius? It was either Marius or Tiberius Gracchus that said like because of who was it? The reformer that was like did the funny dictator gamer move, but like for the peasant class, like the Roman Republic is still here, but its head is like drooping and we are scarce able to hold it up, but without them it wouldn't exist at all or something. I feel like that's the kind of situation that we're in, but not because somebody's actively working to save the republic or whatever, but because both parties are actively working to doom it. And then there are fucking volunteers out there and pro worker orgs doing everything that they can to try to make that not happen. You know, it basically, we have to, in spite of the Democrats' best efforts, make the Democrats win. Because it's clear that their objective here is to lose. At least to me, it's pretty damn clear. I don't know if I have much more to say on that front. I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden, but it never should have come to this. And when Joe Biden loses, when, not if, when Joe Biden loses or either drops out or like chaos ensues, it's going to be entirely on the Democratic Party. This was a decades-long unforced error that like they pushed back on efforts to try to correct this error. When more progressive candidates were running in the 2020 primary, the Democratic Party directed everybody to drop out and endorse Biden specifically. When the 2024 primaries were happening, they reneged on their promise of a one-term Biden presidency and suppressed all the primary debate. Never forget that when the camps start being built or whatever the fuck Republicans have planned starts happening. Never forget that it was liberals that doomed us to this position. Fascists are like an unequivocally evil force of nature. Liberals are the only shield that was presented to us, and their biggest pitch was that, yeah, I'm your only option. And then they did nothing to stop it. Future me cut the segment. Is this actually no, don't yet. Not yet. This is not like the end of America or whatever. Even if America becomes fascist in some shape or form or whatever, like this isn't the end. Politics is a never-ending cycle. It goes on and on. In fact, to assume that this is like the absolute end of everything good or whatever, that's some lib shit, right? Countries have done this dance with death, this dance with fascism before, and come out the other side. And America will too. It's gonna, take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It's gonna take a lot of people down with it, but it's gonna happen, right? It's just part of how history progresses. It absolutely did not need to be this way, and I blame the Democrats for that. As far as predictions go for shit like this, it's honestly up in the air. The media outlets after the debate were all openly talking about the chatter that was going on within the Democratic Party that they might need to have Joe Biden drop out and be replaced with somebody else on the campaign as the candidate, because theoretically they could do that. Remember, the convention hasn't happened yet. Joe Biden is only the presumptive nominee, you know? They could all just decide to have somebody else at the last second emergency meeting, decide to have somebody else as the candidate for 24, and then have all those delegates go to them instead of to Joe Biden, and then that be that, and hopefully be able to pick up the pieces in time for the election to happen. You know, and honestly, I think that would be a better decision than keeping Joe Biden as the candidate that the Democratic Party is going with. You know, they would at least have some time to do the preparation, the training for like media outlets and whatever, and to perform in the next presidential debate. There is going to be, as per American law, there is going to be at least one more presidential debate. I think by law there has to be at least one debate between presidential candidates, and it's hosted by C-SPAN, which is public TV. First time chat, Mike. My copyright claim is denied. Welcome to chat. The thing that is the replacement would probably be another centrist. Even that would be better than Biden. You see, here's the thing, right? The thing about having like a no-name centrist replacement, this is important for understanding how political machines work. I get to be academic here. Is that they would basically be an empty suit for whatever the party deems appropriate, right? Joe Biden had some name recognition going into 2020. A no-name centrist would not have the name recognition and charisma necessary to be an operative unto themselves, if that makes sense, right? They would entirely be at the whims of the Democratic Party. Still not great, but better than like an actively decaying Joe Biden. And if the party decides to do something, you know, by some grace of God, if the Democratic Party decides to not be centrist on a certain day, there's not much that a milquetoast centrist candidate would be able to do about it. Because if they're an empty suit kind of centrist, then their job is just to do what the party tells them, and that's pretty much it, you know. And in fact, Joe Biden was the centrist candidate in 2020, and we got not a terrible presidency. It wasn't great, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, there were some good things that happened. A lot of bad shit happened too because of the nature of centrism. But like, you know, honestly, at this point, you know, as much as everybody rightly was upset about Joe Biden being the nominee and the degree to which the Democratic Party played favorites in 2020, even a regular centrist would be better than Joe Biden now, because it's in the comparison there, it's either you have a centrist that's dying and can't formulate a goddamn sentence and can't function in front of the cameras, or a centrist who isn't dying and is able to read the teleprompter and do what they need to do to, like, I don't know, keep the agenda moving, you know? But your implication there is correct that, like, look, the Democratic Party is always going to prefer the centrist, the do-nothing kind of candidates, and that's a huge problem. Because, you know, those are the circumstances that created the now teetering situation that we have. Yeah, I don't know how much more there is for me to say. I mean, if anybody has, like, any questions or thoughts of their own, feel free to chime in, obviously. We're all cooked like Dallas in EF6. True! That's absolutely true. 100%. We are cooked like Dallas in EF6. At least the Democratic Party is. There's no coming back from this dude. Oh my god. Dude, if they get somebody else... Here's the thing, too, right? Joe Biden performing so bad in this debate affects down-ballot races. You know, people are gonna look at Joe Biden and think Democratic Party. And that's gonna hurt actually competent Democratic candidates that aren't Joe Biden. And that might even be better in terms of what they support ideologically, right? So it's possible that Joe Biden's debate performance on that stage last night, those 2 hours might have fucking sealed America's fate for the next 4 years. Which is really bad, and possibly the biggest... This might actually be one of the single biggest failures of the Democratic Party in any of our lifetimes, which is genuinely impressive if you know what the Democratic Party was like in the 1990s and the 2000s.